Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday. It is 2:10. Going to jump into this week's video. Just for the record, this is going to be probably, well, I guess I will do a video today and then one at the end of the week, which will be a half trading day. The market is closed Thursday and half a day on Friday, I believe. All right, so let's jump into it, see what we've got this week. How we're going to make some more money. Let's go to the backdrop of the market, which we always want to see. We'll start off with the NASDAQ. Big move today. Um, Mentioned this on Friday. I thought there would be some short covering. We got a little bit of relief on um, Friday, and then today had having a really good day. Still way below the 50 and the 21 that are curling down. So I wouldn't get too excited yet. The rule of thumb is you want to see 2 to 3 follow-through days before you enter into new positions correlated with the index. You want to make sure that this is not just call covering, which in many cases it's just short covering. Sorry, excuse me, short covering. All right, Bitcoin. Let's jump into that. Trying to carve out a low. Not so sure that this will be the effective low, but I mentioned on Friday that if you don't own Bitcoin, maybe it was a good idea to starting a position somewhere in this area. I think the value is there. Certainly on the RSI, it was extremely oversold. So it was due for a little bit of a bump. I mean, you're talking about it hasn't been this oversold since back in March. Even in this point before capitulation, it was still not this much oversold. However, this was a true warning, and I don't know if I'm going to believe that this is the low. However, as a guy that believes very much in Bitcoin, I did add some Bitcoin on Friday and a little bit on Saturday, more than I normally do on my DCA, on my dollar cost averaging. So again, I would say that if you don't own Bitcoin, now's a decent time to start buying Bitcoin. If you do own Bitcoin, it doesn't hurt to add a little bit more here, though I would probably guess we're going to get down into this area at some point, which I think is probably going to be healthy. But all right, gold. Gold having just a great day, up 1%, which if you understand how slow gold moves, above the 21, good volume today. Um, and this looks actionable to me. I personally have added some GLDI and hard gold. I've been buying it. I've actually bought some this morning on Costco again. I'm in a couple group chats and I tell people whenever I buy gold. For the record, the way I usually buy gold is I either set up a new business entity, I get a new credit card with a welcome bonus and a good cash back. And then what I do is I have an executive Costco membership that gets me 2% back. And then I usually buy gold around 7 to 8 in the morning. It's usually trading or selling at Costco's website, usually maybe like 1% above spot. So if you take away that one from the 4% you're getting cash back with the welcome bonus, it works out. I know that sounds like Chinese to some people, but I've been buying gold on Costco's website since COVID, so it's worked out. All right, so gold, we've got that. And now more importantly, let's talk about what stocks we're going to trade this week to make some money, the most important thing. Let's touch on some positions that we're still in that I got into. Um, this again having another good day. I think this has a date with $20. However, I mentioned on my video I have a lot of profits in this. I'm going to look to probably trim very soon. They have not released their reading date, which is really what I'm looking for, is to see the date of their reading. Um, I think today I might take 25% off the table. Um, Look, it's setting up. It's still actionable. The thing is, I've got over 30% profits. They have a reading coming up for their cancer drug. I've got other plays I'm going to talk about. Doesn't mean you can't get into it. However, I will trim. Okay, so that's been working. Let's also take a look at what else has been working on the long side. So I did a couple trades today. That I entered this trade today was BT. Oh, I don't know why those emojis are coming up. So Bright Spring Health, I don't really know what they do, but I do know it showed up on my screener while I was working over the weekend. trying to screen for new names, and I really like this pattern. Had a really nice break on Friday above. Today it's having another good day. I did enter this trade this morning. So I thought confirmation was over 30. Where did I put as my? It was 35 flat. So it's 40 cents up from the confirmation trade. I think you could take this trade and then set your stop loss on the bottom here. So I would say 32, a little bit like around 32. So you could take it here, set a stop loss at 32, and I think you're in good shape. As for risk versus reward on that one, so I am long that position effective this morning. Um, I also bought in my IRA, in my long account. I did just buy Oracle. As I mentioned last week, I traded this. I made like 3%. Um, Look, I don't normally buy things under the 200. I'm prepared for this to go down a little bit. I just can't ignore this valuation that this stock has right now. Um, so I did buy some as a starter position in my IRA. For you long term guys, I think this is a good area. Listen, below the 200, below all the averages, I can't promise you this isn't going to go down another $10, but it's a long term hold for me. So I thought it was a good idea to start a position there. Um, all right, what else we've got on the long side? We didn't have very much on the. I was a buyer. Sorry, I was a buyer of open all of last week during the dips, kind of going against everything, all my rules, and it's been paying off. Nice day Friday, great day today. I'm watching the short float. I have seen the short float dissipate quite a bit, which is interesting. So people are covering. I mean, it's just the numbers don't lie. The short sellers are covering. If you see here today, they distributed their tradable warrants, which is kind of nice. That was one of the efforts that the new CEO Kaz made to incentivize shareholders to keep their shares and to continue buying, taking that right out of the Carvana playbook. And so that's working out well. Granted, up 14% today after being up over 10% on Friday is hard to buy. But, listen, if I were to tell you to enter it as a trade, I'd love to see it above the 50. That would be confirmation here. Um, Further confirmation would be above here. As I've mentioned, I'm an investor in this company. I'm not a trader in this company. If you ask me, I'd say it's still worth buying, but for what it's worth. Okay, let's keep going on the long side. So I'm paying attention very much to AMD. As I mentioned last week, I sold some shares, and I probably sold them probably where it's at here right now, as I sold it apart on this day. I'm paying attention very closely to this 50 touching this 5, down curling 20. This is not actionable yet, but I think it could show up. If you really wanted to take it, I don't see why you could not take it now and set a stop loss on the bottom of this wick. Again, risk reward if you're willing to do that. I still would like to see confirmation further. I would not rush into this. Yeah, it's almost 6% higher, but I'm not convinced that today's move is anything more than short covering. I mean, I could completely be wrong. However, I need to see it. I need to see confirmation before I do things. I don't just jump into things without knowing the confirmation behind it. Hood is another one I am paying attention to. I own in my IRA. You see the double top. This is just dripped down. To me, this kind of just looks like short covering today. I mean, 7% move. I don't. I mean, it was a hammer candle at the end. This is a bullish sign here, but I mean, it's hard. It's hard to get excited till it breaks above this area. So keep that on your watch list. United, I entered that last week. Again, I've traded this a couple times. So United, United kind of looks clean to me. I really like this action. You can't see it on the volume, but the volume was drying up on this, and it's above that. I got in on Wednesday, which was here. Sorry, no, here, and I'm up like 3 or 4% since I got in, and whoop-de-doo. I think this is actionable. I told you you're going to have some problems in this zone. This is where earnings were, and it had a problem in this zone. And if you see my cursor, how it scrolls across, that exact zone is the last day before the gap went down. So it still needs to fill this gap, and I think it needs to get above this point to get uber bullish, but I still think you could take this on a trade, even with if you want to play options with 375 strikes. I bought shares, but I did look at the option chain. Hard not to like 375 strike out till next year. This is not financial advice, just for educational purposes only. So not telling you what to do. All right, let's now go on the short side. So I activated puts on Rigetti on Friday, and I'm getting hurt, down 7%. So it's up 7%. So I'm getting hurt. I figured there would be, I'm okay with this. This is out till next year. I probably will add to this position today, and then I'll set a stop loss up here, but I'm going to go short. So I think, listen, I think if it gets above this, my trade didn't work. But I'm going to add to my short position at the end of the day. I think that's something you could look at. I think this is going to get denied here. I think this is short covering. The short float was jumping. I think this is getting denied. So take that for what it's worth. That can be on your short side. Let me give you another short name. IONQ. This is another one I think is going to get denied today. So if you want a short idea, this is probably one of the better ones. Um, I'm not in this short yet, but I'll consider it depending on how we close today. I think this is going to get denied. Let me also take your attention to Netflix. So Netflix, I did take this on a true short. I'm not in options. I'm in a real short. So I do believe Netflix is going down. I got into this last week. I mentioned this about a week and a half ago. I think Netflix is going down. I think it's going downtown. So I have this on a short. My target price is around $85 is probably where I would look to cover. That correlates with the capitulation. As you can see, the stock price is lower because it had its stock split. This was trading at over $1,000. This is the capitulation area from April. That's more or less where I would cover my short. So I'm short Netflix. And that's a true short, more of a conviction short. All right. And the other two shorts that you can consider, which are, so I did short Microsoft last week quite a bit through options. I still think this is actionable. Option short here, hanging on to that 200. I think it's going to lose that 200 in the next couple of days. So I'm not short right now. I would have liked to see a little bit more of a bounce up and then shorted, but I have that on my list. And then finally, on my short list to call to your attention is CLS. This is a stock I traded on the long side last, was it like September? Um, so this is energy, but I think this is going to get pushed down. I did really well on the long side on this. I, you know, I would say if you're okay with a little bit more risk, this is something you can go in today. You could either take that on options. I looked at the options puts with the 300 strike, looked phenomenal for price action, or you could do it. Or you could do a traditional short, which you can do. So I think those are your short names. I did buy something this morning as well, and it's good old fashioned Apple. I know most people are not going to believe that, but I bought Apple for the first time in years this morning, and this is a trade for me. I got in this morning, a little slow mover, not very sexy, but I think this is breaking out to all-time highs. I actually like this chart pattern. So my new buys this morning were Apple and PTSG, and that is about it. That's all I got for you guys today. Um, Keep an eye. We have some economic data. We don't have much earnings this week. Um, we got this Dallas manufacturing index. We did not get the other data that I was looking for. Unfortunately, an unfortunate thing is I don't think we're going to get much economic data here for a while. Whether I'm not convinced they're suppressing it, but I don't know. So that's it. I'll call to your attention ET before I go. And I'm not talking ET phone home. This is a stock I bought many years ago. Pays a massive dividend. insider buying again by the director. You can see the values here, quite substantial purchasing by this director in this month. And if I look back in August, it didn't make much of a difference. I'm not saying go out and buy it. I just think oil and gas is going to do really well soon. I know OPEC is flooding the market right now. However, I think this is a stock you might want to consider on your list, also because it does pay a really, really generous um, dividend. It's not a very shorted stock, though, so keep that in mind. Not very shorted at all, and but has great. Let's see if I can pull it up. Sorry to take you guys down this. So their earnings are constantly growing. Their sales, they did great during 22, but their share, they're growing. I would take a look at this. So that's it. That's all I got. I gave you what I got for the day. I'll be back at the end of the week. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the market. Keep your eye on the prize. All right. Take it easy.